When did you realize Nick was sick? Tell me the backstory.
We were living in LA. He moved, he was very insistent on moving us to California, even though my mom and dad lived across the hall from us at the time in New York and my two sisters were blocks away. He was insistent on getting to California. And so he wanted to do music. He really was kind of just sick of New York City. Nick would get like this. He would get sick of a situation and he would have to move. You could just feel it in his bones. Like he intuitively would know when he needed to do a shift. And so he had felt that. I was very much like, absolutely not. My fitness business is here. My family is here. I'm pregnant. You are best known as a Broadway actor and you are getting work here. Like, what are you thinking? And now you want to move to LA to do music? Like, music was always a part of Nick's life, but it just was like this back burner kind of like side thing that he would always do. But he really wanted to do it. So we moved and we had to go back though in March to New York to kind of take everything out of our apartment, officially move out.
So March of 2020.
March of 2020, early March of 2020. I have no idea when Nick got COVID. It's impossible to try to figure out. But he originally kind of started not feeling good in those first couple weeks of March, but then got better. He was around me and my entire family, very close quarters, because in those early days, every day things were getting shut down. So every night it was my mom, my dad, who are in their 70s, and my whole family all together every night. None of us got sick. He just like had like a cold. And then we flew back to California on March 17th of 2020. And then March 19th, my birthday, is when he started to feel very tired. And he was like, honey, I'm so sorry. I know it's your birthday, but can we go to bed early? And I was like, he wasn't hungry. He barely ate his dinner that he made me. Then that kind of started, him kind of just really not feeling well. We took him to the hospital March 30th.
So from the 19th to the 30th, he was just
at home, very lethargic, sleeping 3 to 4 hours, chunks every day, all day long. Like he would sleep for 3 hours, wake up, maybe have like a sip of something and then go back to sleep. And I just thought he was in depression. I don't know. I was calling my family complaining every day that Nick was being lazy and I was stuck with Elvis and just being a single mom. And like he was showing no signs of what COVID was. Yeah. On the news, it was fever, cough, no sense of taste or smell, and you were old. Nick was 41, completely healthy, and he was tired. So we weren't like, you have COVID. He was tired. I swear he had no other symptoms.
How did you not get COVID?
I have no idea. We were literally trapped in a room, a cabin the size of this, and we were sleeping together. And it wasn't until he fainted one morning changing Elvis's diaper. So we took him to urgent care. And when he came out of urgent care, they said they don't think it's COVID. They didn't even want to give me a test because I haven't been around anyone that has COVID. They think I have pneumonia. So they gave me an inhaler and some medication. They told me to maybe sleep in a separate room from you and Elvis. And if I'm not better over the weekend, then I should go to the emergency room. And that was the weekend he started getting really, really sick. None of the medication was helping him. His breathing got really bad. He got even more lethargic. He started to have a cough on that Monday. I was like, we need to take you to the emergency room.
From the time he went to the emergency room until, what was the time period when you realized things were bad?
Not long. I took him the 30th. I dropped him off and I said, I'll pick you up in 2 hours. Like, we didn't have any idea what was going on.
You had a baby and you were here by yourself.
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, I don't know where you walk. I mean, like everything was so blocked off. Like I dropped him off on some corner. I definitely didn't kiss him goodbye because he was sick. He didn't kiss Elvis goodbye because he was sick. So he got off and just like walked into the hospital by himself. And we were like, bye, I'll see you. I'm going to go to the Grove and hang out and wait for you to call. He called and he said they are going to keep me overnight. They have me on oxygen. And then in the middle of that night, he called and said they're taking me to the ICU. When they took him to the ICU, that was like the first time that I was like, what? Like, what is happening? The ICU? Like, that I had never had anybody in the ICU, not a grandparent, nobody. So this was like a very big, like, was happening.
And what was happening then? Was he being like intubated or was this too early for all of that?
That was a 4 a.m. phone call. And then he was in the ICU that day. And then 24 hours later is when he called to say they're putting me on a ventilator and I'm going to be out for 6 days. I won't be able to call you or talk to you, but they're telling me that if I go on a ventilator, that my body will be able to rest and it'll be able to get the oxygen that my organs need. I had no idea what a ventilator was. I didn't know the severity of it. I didn't fully comprehend what was happening. It was 4 a.m. Elvis was laying next to me. Again, it was a situation of like, okay, I mean, like, I trust hospitals and doctors. And so I just was like, this must be what needs to be happening. We said, I love you. And that was the last time I talked to him.
At this point, they'd done the COVID test and he had COVID. They knew that.
He had done 2 COVID tests and they were both negative. They didn't do a third one until he was intubated, and they went way deep into his chest cavity, did a third COVID test, and that one came back positive.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
So it was at this point that you're like, shit's getting real.
Yeah.
Like, this is real.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, did you have anyone here around you to help you?
At that point, no, not
Sister
yet.
hadn't come yet.
Not yet. No, I was by myself. I was very much positive though, because, the doctors were all saying, Nick is 41. He's a healthy guy. It's going to be okay. And then a couple Broadway actors had reached out to me going, I was also in the ICU on a ventilator for 6 days. I'm out of there. There's a couple days of rehab that you'll have, but like, Nick's going to make it. Everything's going to be fine. And for that first week, he was completely fine. Every day he was getting better. Every day was, we're going to take him off the ventilator in 3 days. We're going to take him off the ventilator in 2 days. We don't think he's even COVID positive anymore. We'll do another test eventually, but we're feeling good. So it was all looking very, very positive. And then I think the day that they were going to take him off the ventilator, I received a phone call saying that he spiked a fever in the middle of the night and his heart stopped. They had to resuscitate him, and that he died on the table for 2 minutes, and that his life is minute to minute. And they want to put him on an ECMO machine, which is a machine that runs his heart and lungs. And that's the only thing that will save his life. And do I have my consent to do this thing very quickly, or else he will die, and we'll call you once he's on the ECMO machine to see if he's still alive. That's when I really lost it, probably for the first time. I could not breathe.
I mean, it's an unimaginable thing to get through, especially alone. And so many people during lockdown were dealing with things alone, whether it was a young mother being pregnant and having to go through the pregnancy alone, or being a partner of somebody who was sick.
Yeah. Or just being an old person at home alone.
Scared.
Or even just anyone home alone. Being alone is terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, thank God for Elvis. Like, as hard as it was to be a single mom, thank God for that little boy, because he kept me busy and smiling and cuddled, and yeah.
So was it around this time, Amanda, that you started to essentially create this online movement, the Wake Up Nick movement?
Yes.
How long did it take until you were like, I have got to turn my pain into purpose? Let's go.
I didn't have that plan. My life was very much on Instagram from my fitness business. And I had a very small, loyal Instagram following. And I was always very candid on Instagram with, what I was doing and where I was and showing who I was. And even during that first week that Nick was in the hospital, I was doing 3 times a week workouts with Ami Song over Instagram Lives. So I was very out in public. And then when Nick went into the ICU, that's when I was like, I have to say something, because I can't feel like I'm living 2 different lives. I don't want to be like, okay, everybody, let's do a 30-minute at-home workout with Ami Song this morning, and then knowing that my husband's in the ICU. So I also felt that it was important to say that my husband's 41, he's perfectly healthy, and has COVID. Because again, at the time, everyone was old. It was affecting older people. And if you were young, you would be okay. And so I felt like it was very, very important to let people know that if you don't have any symptoms, but you're on the couch and you can't get up and you're really tired, maybe you should take this seriously.